What's the word, people? Flow via 7. All right, as promised, here's the video on how to properly prep sea moss. So the first thing you're gonna need is your Flovia St. Lucia wild crafted sea moss. We're gonna use either a lemon or lime to cut out that ocean sea taste. It's your choice, really just a matter of preference. You gotta have a few kitchen utensils, measuring cups and a strainer, a paring knife, one of those small, tiny knives. Had no idea that it had an actual name before I started making sea moss. A bowl or some type of food container, a glass if you have one. Now we have to clean our sea moss. This is wild crafted, so that means it is directly from the Atlantic Ocean, Caribbean Sea. We have to make sure we get any of that sea or ocean grime up out of there. Here I used 1.5 cups worth of sea moss. If you have a scale, this weighs out to about 2 ounces worth. This alone is enough dry sea moss to make about 32 ounces of sea moss gel. Clearly, you don't need a lot to make a little. So this is for personal use at home and you only need enough for you and maybe, some of your family members. Start off with a handful. A handful is a good amount. That'll get you about 8 to 16 ounces depending on the size of your hand. Here's water being poured over the sea moss. You want to use purified water or my personal preference, alkaline water. You only need enough to get the sea moss wet, not necessarily submerge it in the water all the way. That's later on. Simply going to use our hands and clean the sea moss and get that type of stuff out. Yep, that's a no-no. Sea grime. So you got to have paper towel or either a towel next to you so you can go ahead and wipe all of that stuff off. Look at this. This is like a sea booger almost. It's not, but either way. So get that out of here. Remember that strainer from earlier? Yeah, now it's time to put that to work. So go ahead and dump the sea moss with the water in the strainer. And then after you do that, put the sea moss back into your bowl or your container. Put some more of that purified or alkaline water in there and get back to work. So it's just a repeat. You want to get the sea moss as clean as you possibly can. So I recommend a minimum of 20 minutes of this process of cleaning and going through it with your hands. Don't be alarmed by the sea grime, as I like to call it, that you may find in your sea moss. It is an organic plant that is from the sea, that is from the ocean. It's actually a sign to know that you have actual wild crafted sea moss and not something that was manufactured or something that was grown in a pool. All right, enough of that. So now let's go ahead and repeat this part. And now go back to that lemon or lime, whichever one you chose. Once again, it's your preference. Here you see I chose a lemon. Cut your lemon or lime up into a few pieces, not too many because you don't want that lemon or lime taste to overpower the sea moss necessarily, but just enough to just kind of sprinkle around the bowl. You go ahead, then take the sea moss out of the strainer and put it in the bowl or container with the lemon or lime. Now we're going to take the water and completely submerge the sea moss in the water. Make sure that it's enough so that it comes to the top of the sea moss, and you try to do your best to make sure that all of it is kind of sunken underneath it. Here comes the fun part. After all of that, you have to wait. You have to let it soak 12 to 36 hours. So put a lid on it and refrigerate it or just leave it out. Next video, be on the lookout. We're gonna go ahead and toss this puppy in the blender and make us our gel.